We're at the superb Oulton Park circuit in Cheshire for the second round of the ultra-competitive 2019 Disklok Civic Cup, where action is always guaranteed. The championship leader after round one was Lee Deegan. He pretty much dominated at Snetterton with a first and a second in the two races. But let's have a look at the time qualifying. This time in the early running, it was privateer Dan Reason in the 77 car who topped the sheets after lap one, with Morgan Bailey and Danny Hobson second and third. But lap one is often just an early chance to get some heat into the tyres and test the performance of the setup. Early indications were that the championship leader was having some issues at the back of the field, but by lap two, whatever issues he had were put to bed as he popped it into fifth, Hobson up one to second, and Alistair Camp up into the top three. Jason Ballantyne made up four on that lap, looking like he was over the traumas of Snetterton, where a 30-kilogram penalty impacted his performance all day, resulting in a blown engine during race two. Ballantyne was looking to put that right with results this weekend, designed to put him back into contention for the title. By lap three, Reason's early pace was looking like it was more than just window dressing as the 77 car continued to dominate the session so far. Ballantyne now up to third, but by lap four, Hobson put it on P1 with 3 laps of the session remaining. Ben Sharp at this stage moved from fifth to second, and Reason was looking like he was struggling to stay in the game. Phil Wright, meanwhile, was up to fourth, with the championship leader on the slide, losing 2 places in 2 laps down to seventh, struggling for a grid position that would keep him out of any early starting troubles. By lap 5, it was back to the early pace for Reason as a 1:56.1 put him 3/10 ahead, with the man in the M-Tech Brakes MyRider machine, Deepwater Dave Buki, moving up 9 places from 15th to 6th. 6th place and in it to win it. Reason's time, though, was disallowed for track limits, dropping him back to third. But time qualifying drama in the last 60 seconds saw Reason steal the pole position by a quarter of a second ahead of Danny Hobson, with Ben Sharp third from Wright, Camp, Buki, Ballantyne, a disappointing 7th for him, and Deegan likewise in 8th. Not what the championship leader had in mind at the start of the day. Morgan Bailey and Bruce Winfield rounding out the top 10. Drivers further back would include Sam Nicolau, starting from P16 in his first appearance in the championship after missing round one. After time qualifying, our paddock reporter Ian Waterhouse caught up with some of the drivers.
You weren't testing yesterday, but you stuck it on pole today.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I don't know. I must just like the circuit. The car feels amazing. We spent a bit of time, rather than testing yesterday, we set the car up for a couple of hours and it's paid dividends, I think.
14th on the grid. How do you feel out there?
Not very good.
No?
Not very good, struggling a bit, but hopefully we'll make some places up in the race.
What's the track like? Is it? I know it's sunny now, but was it a little bit? Was it a bit greasy?
A couple of bits slightly. It wasn't really greasy, but I think it's just cold still. So hopefully later on it'll get a bit of temperature in it and get a bit more grip. But
Thoughts for the race?
just try and make that top 10 for the reverse grid. Make them 4 places.
You want 10th, don't you? Then you start pole. That's.
I won't stop at 10th though. If we can make a few more, we'll keep going. But yeah, just break that top 10.
13th on the grid. How was it out there?
Car felt pretty good, to be fair. I mean, I don't think I've been fast around Oulton before. It's not local to me, but I did go testing yesterday. It's just the pace is white hot. Dan's lap to do a 55.9 here in the Civic is.
Andy wasn't testing yesterday either.
That's
So
the worst
is
part
it
of
just blind madness? Or is
No, I think there's some prep in there. I think he's been on the simulator.
What can you do from 13th?
Reverse top 10. Realistically, I think if I get a good start off the line, I can challenge for 10th place, get the reverse top 10, pole for the second race, and maybe be a mobile roadblock in race 2.
22nd on the grid. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was alright, wasn't too bad. Struggling a bit with setup on the car. Trying his best for first season, so it's a learning curve all the way. Would have liked to be in a bit better up, but we'll see how we go in race 1.
There's a lot can happen. It's a big grid as well, isn't it? And there's points all the way down, as we were just chatting to Lewis over there. So there's big opportunity here. What top 10 do you reckon? Is that reasonable to expect?
it'd be hard from 22nd, but if we get a good start and make us way through the pack in the first couple of laps, and then hold, maybe get to 10th, and then the reverse grid for race 2 could put us on pole, which ideally would be nice.
Qualifying, how'd you get on?
It was okay. I did feel I could do a lot better. Yesterday, testing sort of session 2, I was sort of doing 2 minutes, and I think I ended up doing about 2:02. So, it is where it is. But I think in the race, I can sort of make back some places. So,
how's the track out there? Because I spoke to a couple of the chaps, and yes, it's dry, but it's very cold.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll warm up for the race.
Yeah.
So, do you think you can make a bit of a start and go for this?
hopefully, yeah. It is a track that certainly first thing in the morning, round Druids and Old Hall and even down Cascades. I think I had a bit of a moment myself down there this morning where I thought, am I going to end up, going the right way or not? So yeah, I think in the afternoon it will be a bit more interesting if it stays warm like it is. So yeah.
This is your first season, that's right, in Civic Cup.
Yeah.
You stuck at 5th. You're a natural.
Yeah, loving it. So now I had another half a second in me yet, so hoping to put that on the grid. But yeah, I got a bit held up with a few drivers, so it was just one of them. But on a hot lap as well, so it's a bit frustrating. But no, I'm happy where I am. So
you've got 4 cars in front. Can you get in front of them?
Give it our best shot, won't we?
How'd you get on out there?
I'm getting there. It's a new car, so I'm trying to get used to it. Done 202s, which every day I've come down in the times. I'm at the back at the moment, but hopefully.
Yeah, but that's probably you can see where everybody's going wrong in front of you then.
Yeah. I hope there's a bit of carnage on the way out, and then I can get round them.
Where do you think this race is going to be won and lost today?
Hopefully off the start, and I'll go for another good start like I try and do most times.
If not, it is a reverse grid, isn't it, for race 2? So there's a chance you'll be right up there. But where do you think podium, is that a realistic possibility?
From 7th, yeah, it's reachable, but it'll be hard work. But we'll give it a go, yeah.
We had about 8 degrees of changeable camber on this front wheel. Every time I was coming into a bend, the wheel was just all over the place. So managed to get it ready. We've literally just finished the car, hence why I'm covered in grey stills. But yeah,
that is how you do it at club level, isn't it? You get your hands steady. What can you do in a race?
Well, I've won from 10th before, so I'm out there to win. So see how it goes.
And you are the 2017 champion, that's correct?
Yeah.
Right, yep. You weren't here last year. What were you doing?
The prize drive for winning the 2017 was a drive with MRF Tyres, who sponsored the championship, in a BMW. So they were supporting me in that. Done a season with them. Went out to India in an F4 in February, which MRF supported me with. So yeah, we've done really well out there. Got a win in that, and back in the Civic now.
I've heard Ferrari might need a seat with Vettel in a bit of trouble. Do you think you could fill that?
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
So here we go into the action at Oulton Park. A massive thank you to Chris Hartley and the team at Proactive TV for the footage. TDI Media putting it all together to make a fantastic show. On board with Ross Darlington, let's race at Oulton Park as we charge down to Old Hall. Not the best of starts for Darlington, and he's been sideswiped both sides, twice in fact, 3 times. He's having all sorts of nightmares getting on the gas as we go through Old Hall for the first time. Door to door, several drivers finding a little bit more than the road as they slide sideways. We're on board with Ballantyne, that is Buki in front of us as we drop down Cascades. Buki holding the inside line like his life depended on it. Ballantyne just sweeping straight round the outside into the left-hander and up into 4th position on the curbs. Not sure he's done yet because I think Buki is still there. Well, he's just managed to out-drag him, and through goes Alistair Camp to move up into what is 5th position. But out in front, it is still Dan Reason in the lead of the race. Bruce Winfield down to the Shell Oils hairpin as we break down the inside. This is going to get problematic for Dalzell, and he's had a bit of an issue there. Oh, goodness me. That has got very clumsy indeed. Winfield managed to get through the middle of it, but that's Phil Wright. He was the real victim in all of that. Look at that, it's absolutely mullered. That card looks like it's gone 10 rounds with Frank Bruno. Let's look at it again. On board with Morgan Bailey now. He's the one who tried to avoid the action. That's Winfield to our right. Dalzell and Wright connect. Buki just gets a side swipe, and Bailey so nearly gets collected. He just manages to avoid it round the outside. On board again with Winfield. Look, Dalzell sees a gap on the inside of Wright. He's locking up to try and make it happen. He actually nudges him in the rear quarter and accidentally makes an overtake, but it's not really the way you're supposed to do it. Buki was very lucky not to get punted into a spin. He just avoids it, and Winfield slices the middle of Wright and Dalzell. So now we're on board with Ross Darlington. up and over the top of the crest as we come up towards Druids. Really exciting flowing part of the lap this, and we're going to make a very late lunge into Ballantyne. That was lovely on the inside. That is a daring move on the first lap of any race around Oulton Park, never mind in the Disklok Civic Cup. And that was a beautiful bit of driving. Here's your race leader, Dan Reason, coming towards us. Then it is Hobson and Sharp, who are still fairly close together in the battle for second place as they go into Old Hall. Then it's Jason Ballantyne from Buki, Alistair Camp, and the 37 of Bruce Winfield. And now he is on the back of Camp. He's very lucky even to be in the top 10 at all after the first lap shenanigans. Deegan is in 8th place, desperately trying to make up for lost time. Then it's Rose, Vincent, Lewis. Whoa, we're losing it! Hang on to it! No, once the back end starts to kick at that point of the course, you are pirouetting. He's managed to do full 360s on 2 occasions, brought it back facing the right way, but that's going to tumble him down the order. What a shame for Darlington. Now that's Alistair Camp in front of us. He's caught up to the back of Buki, and I'm not surprised at all because Winfield's trying to make his own impression up the inside. Nothing doing. I have to say, fair work from the marshals at Shell Oils. They managed to get all of the debris out of the way to make sure that the racing can continue there. This is the battle for the lead. Reason, Hobson, Sharp and Ballantyne. Jason Ballantyne, if you remember, he had a big problem in the second. Oh, we've had an off there at Shell Oils. Now, that has happened at a very awkward place for David Vincent. So what must have happened there is he's gone through the left-hander and the back end must have just caught the white line, or he's gone onto the grass, spun the car. Somehow he's managed to avoid massive contact as wheel to wheel, Deegan and Winfield are really giving it some through into Knickerbrook chicane. Lewis Rose has got damage to the trim. Now he's got to be very careful because if that is dragging on the car, it could detach, and obviously the officials may well decide to throw the meatball flag at him, the mechanical. Oh, Deegan chops across the nose of Winfield's car as they go up towards Druids. But Dan Reason leading the race. After the first weekend at Snetterton, he is third in the points, but it doesn't look like he's going to stay there long with a race performance like this. But he has got pressure from Hobson, who's trying to drop Sharp. Hobson is trying to get onto the back of Reason, and as they come across the line with just under 11 minutes to go, Hobson, running second in the standings, is now reeling in Reason. On board with Hobson. Plenty of curb through Old Hall. Back on the power. Sharp and Ballantyne are still very much in this hunt. This is all about how you look after the tyres, how you look after the brakes, and how you watch the cars in front to assess where they are weak and you are strong. So Bailey has made up a few places on that lap. In fact, he's made up 3 places in 1 lap. He's up to 15th place behind Nicolau, Mullen, and the 15 of Luke Handley. On board with Hobson as he continues to try and get that gap down to Reason as they cross the line, 0.6 of a second with Dan Reason there. The only FN2 Civic on the grid. That was famous, of course, in the mid-2000s in the British Touring Car Championship. It was a great little model of Civic. It still has life in the Civic Cup. Into the braking zone. Hobson's getting very close. But unfortunately for him, it's not close enough to make a move into the chicane. There's battles at the front of the field, but in the midfield there's some great ones as well. Here's one, Craig Carter trying to shake off Andy Hart. And then it's Aaron Rose, Beach with the for sale signs on his car. And then it is Paul McHugh. Here are the leaders coming through Knickerbrook. Reason, Hobson, Sharp and Ballantyne. Buki with Camp all over the back of him. Then it is Deegan and Winfield. And then in 9th place, that is the 81, still with that problem with the flapping bodywork, Lewis Rose. Then it's Max Lewis. And then we've got Taylor and Nicolau, Mullen, Handley and Bailey. And then we're going to see a very fast recovering, well, we were going to see a fast recovering Phil Wright as Hobson nearly loses it through Druids. Goodness me, that was some pretty impressive car control. I've seen many a classier driver lose it there and bin it into the wall on the far side, so well recovered from Hobson, as Buki has still got problems from Alistair Camp. And having remembered him from his days in the short ovals, when you've got Camp on your tail, you really know about it. Buki's about to get into a world of difficulty. 5th position. Camp is honing his skills there into the first corner through Old Hall. He eases off a little bit, but then he can blend back on the power. Buki gets a little bit sideways, and this is Camp now really starting to go for it. This is what he's good at. He backs off to make you think you've got no hope, and now he dives up the inside, but he's carried a lot of speed. Can he get back on the apex? Lovely. He has managed to do that beautifully there. So a really good run from Alistair Camp as he gets past Buki, and that is the run up to Shell Oils hairpin. So Buki into 6th position now rather than 5th as they come through the sweeping left. And then into the Shell hairpin. Now there's a bit of debris on the inside line, probably left over from that first lap incident. There's a little bit of muck and dirt there on the inside line. So the drivers are actually having to adjust their racing line slightly to counteract that. Into the chicane. Oh, this is a big lunge from Bailey! Goodness me, that was well held on Chris Mullen. That was the rallycross manoeuvre. Bailey channels his inner Christopherson there. That was absolutely lovely how he got through on the inside there. A bit of a slide from Sharp as well. He's pushing very hard. Look at the way Camp's getting away from Buki. He's got some straight line speed today. Deegan, Winfield, and look, Phil Wright still pushing hard despite the slightly damaged front end. Genuinely looks as though that needs a bit of an MOT and service. Up through the inside of the chicane. This is a good run from Bailey, Handley, Harris in that lot as well. And here come the leaders, up and over the crest. Wright has actually done quite a lot of work here. That is Harris, in fact. And then that's the 60, so that is Mike Ballantyne. Hart has still got in front of Rose. Ross Darlington has actually got some front bumper damage of his own now. There it is. And that's going to cause a problem, because if that buckles, that could go underneath his car, never mind anybody else's. So it is dangerous. And if he gets the call to come into the pits, then that's game over. So just the one retirement from the race. It's Dalzell, who of course had that massive problem at the first lap of the race up at the Shell hairpin. Reason has got a second on Hobson now from Sharp, Ballantyne, Camp and Buki. Then Deegan, Winfield, Rose, Lewis, Taylor and Nicolau. Here's the midfield battle, side by side. This is going to get interesting into the braking zone as Vincent tries to make his move on the inside of Beach. And that's nicely done. So Beach, I'm not sure if the car is still for sale or whether he's the one who's bought it. On board with Darlington, he's got Beach on the breakaway now down the straight. Surely this is going to be a nice lunge into the first corner. He breaks a couple of metres later, and that's lovely. Now he's just got to hold on through the inside line. He actually comes way off the curbs there on the outside line. Sometimes drivers like to use that outside curb to straighten up the car, but it is pretty dangerous. Oh, that was a bit too much curb for Sharp, but he's still in a very strong position after his P5 at Snetterton in the second race. On board again we go now with Darlington. That's Craig Carter, he's his next target. This is going to be a brave move if he pulls it off with the Shell hairpin from here. Look, he backs off, carries the speed back on the power. Will he go for it? He is going to try. That's lovely, absolutely textbook. That's how to get that move done. And Darlington charges away from the inside apex. That's another lovely move made up. So Paul Taylor currently being hassled by Nicolau. Sam Nicolau is here for the first time this season. Oh, somebody's chirping away at the chirping away on the brakes there. Tyres squealing into Knickerbrook. That means you're pushing hard enough. Reason, Hobson, Sharp and Jason Ballantyne. The top four still very well matched after about 8 minutes of racing. We've got 5 minutes to go just about as we come across the line. So about 10 minutes as near as makes no difference across the line. Hobson, Sharp and Ballantyne separated by 5 seconds now. Jason Ballantyne just slowly losing ground to Hobson and Sharp. But if he's looked after the tyres in the latter stage of the race, he still has a chance to come back. Buki is dropping back a little bit from Alistair Camp. Goodness me, Reason has been charging away. 1.7 is now the gap, so he's making those little increments of time to gain every little bit in the sectors, and it's pretty impressive considering. Whoa! That's proper sideways from Reason. That is a race leader absolutely on the limit. Carter, meanwhile, is battling away with McHugh as they have both got past Beach now, so Beach unfortunately drops to the back of the field. This is getting pretty hectic for Hart as well, as he's got Harris lined up. This man, Dan Reason, is absolutely loving it. I wonder what he's got to say about that tank slapper through the left-hander a little bit later on. I have a feeling that was a bit of a scary moment inside the car, but it looked absolutely terrific, I have to say. He'll get out the car and be the racing driver, won't he? He'll say that was totally planned. Hobson, Sharp and Jason Ballantyne. Look, he's dropping into the clutches of Camp now. Camp is really starting to put the pressure on him. Buki, Deegan, a bit of a gap back now to Winfield, still pushing hard, 2 wheels on the deck and 2 in the air as he goes through the chicane, and that's getting really hairy for Rose, that bumper coming loose. Lewis in 10th position, bit of a gap back to Taylor, still in front of Nicolau and Bailey. And then 14th, here comes Mullen, I think it is still, in front of Handley. Phil Wright still pushing hard despite having his Mike Tyson moment on the first lap, as down the straight towards us once again come the leaders. Well, this is going to be a bit of a defensive manoeuvre now from Ballantyne. He's got Alistair Camp all over the back of him. Still some good battles further back. Harris, Hart, Mike Ballantyne, Rose and Vincent. There is Darlington. That bumper really does look like it's going to come off any second. Whoops. Bit of a tank slapper from Carter in front of McHugh and Beach. Now here's the battle for 11th position. This is Taylor in front of Nicolau. Now Nicolau is going to try and make his way to come through. We go up over Deerleap and over the start-finish line once again. Nicolau's well positioned himself. We go back to the battle for 4th. Jason Ballantyne in front of Cascades down Lakeside. It looks like a few problems with our camera, unfortunately. We'll try and get that sorted as soon as possible as they come down towards Island Bend. This is where we've seen a few overtaking moves. And still, Camp is really putting the hassle on. This is side by side. Nicolau trying to come round the outside of Taylor as they come down Denton's into Cascades. Bailey is now all over the back of them as well now. He wants to move up from 13th. Meanwhile, further back in the pack, this is Harris, Hart, Ballantyne, Vincent and Rose. We're on board with Darlington through Old Hall. Now he is trying to make a bit of a gain towards them. Ballantyne still battling away with Alistair Camp. He is really giving him some hassle as they come out of Britain's and over Hilltop. This is going to be very interesting on the run into the Hislop chicane, but this man is still pushing like stink. He still thinks that Hobson is going to cause a bit of an issue in the last lap, which they are about to go on to, by the way. And is that Nicolau now through? No, not quite, but Morgan Bailey pushing very hard. Goodness me. That was a little bit over the line there, but you've got to love his livery. Now, that is in tribute to the Graham Hill Lotus of the 1960s. And they were the first ever Formula One team to have any form of advertising and sponsorship deal. It's a very distinctive livery he's paid tribute to there. I can't name it, obviously, because it's a tobacco company. But fair play to him. That was not lost on me, mate. Up and over the top of the crest and up towards Lodge. Camp is still all over the back of Jason Ballantyne as they begin the final lap of the race at the top of the hill. Reason goes through, and that's the move. A lovely bit of driving there from Vincent as he gets past Mike Ballantyne. Still the 20 of Darlington pushing. Here we are on the last lap. Reason, Hobson and Sharp already still in front of us. Ballantyne has got Camp all over the back of him. Through Old Hall, down the avenue. Camp is sliding, pushing very hard. Sharp is still there for 3rd. Ballantyne trying to cover down Denton's and into Cascades through the left. He's locking up the brakes. Little puff of smoke. Really charging. Trying to get away down Lakeside. And up towards Island Bend again. Alistair Camp is not giving up. He's a patient man. He will push relentlessly to get the move through Island. And up towards the hairpin. I think he's made enough ground. Is he going to go for the inside move? No, Ballantyne has moved to cover. So Camp changes tack. Runs round the outside trying to get a faster exit. And then set him up for Britain's, where this man already is. Reason leading from Hobson and Sharp. But where is Ballantyne and Camp? Here they come. Over the top of the curbs and back on the power up towards Hilltop. Camp's got a good run. This is looking very neat and tidy as Bailey has now got between Taylor and Nicolau, and he's trying to break into 11th place on the last lap. That's a bit more than the racetrack, though. Careful there, Morgan. That could have gone very badly wrong. Into Hislops they go. And up towards Knickerbrook, the right-hander. And still, Ballantyne and Camp are relentlessly duelling. 37, Winfield in 8th, Rose in 9th place. And Lewis still rounding out the top 10. He's managed to get well away from the Taylor and Bailey squabble. Bailey still trying, and Nicolau even squiggling out the gap. And now, what is Wright going to get done? Oh, goodness me, Handley's gone straight on. Well, that's not gone well. Hopefully he's going to make it round the lap. But this man has not put a wheel wrong all race, even with the tank slapper Island. He held it and got it together as Reason takes the checkered flag. It's a brilliant run from Dan the Man. Robson in 2nd place. Sharp in a fantastic 3rd. He's won the race as far as he's concerned. 3rd place is amazing. Ballantyne just pips Camp over the line. Buki is content with 6th in front of Deegan, who has a chance for redemption in race 2. Don't forget the top 10 is reversed for the grid for race 2, so that'll put him 4th. And Lewis across the line will be pole position for that 2nd race. And he's managed to finish behind Winfield and Rose. He'll start ahead of them in race 2. Taylor wins in the battle between Bailey and Nicolau. Wright comes through, manages to salvage a 14th place in front of Mullen and Handley. So a very exciting race. Probably not for the reasons he would have wanted, though. But a fantastic effort in the Civic Cup once again. Reason your winner from Hobson and Sharp, then Ballantyne and Camp. Buki is 6th. Deegan 7th place. then Winfield, Rose, and your pole man for race 2 is Lewis. Taylor, Bailey and Nicolau from Wright, Mullen and Handley. Hart in 17th. From Vincent, Harris, Rose and Darlington. Then Mike Ballantyne, McHugh, Beach, and on the last lap we seem to have lost Craig Carter with Dalzell out on the first lap. Down in the pits, Ian Waterhouse is waiting to greet our race winner, Dan Reason.
You told us after qualifying that heading up to Shell Oil's corner might be a bit hairy at times, but how was it?
Hairy.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, one of the laps we were totally crossed up sideways. That was 2 laps from the end, so at that point I thought, right, let's just settle it down, because you don't want to take those risks. It's not worth it at all.
So you start race 2 now from 10th. That's right. How do you? What can you do from there?
I think nailing the start's the most important thing. If you can get a couple of cars and then work your way through, ideal. I want a second podium, obviously towards the championship, but there's that many fast lads in this championship. It's difficult to do it. So fingers crossed.
We were watching the action from the pit wall. I've got to say, a bit of a gap started to form from you and Ballantyne in 4th.
Yeah.
Well, under control?
Yeah, the last 2-3 laps I just slowed it right down because I had a bit of a moment going down one of the hills when I was trying to push to keep up with them, and I realised I was like, hold on, I better just try and settle for 3rd here, or I'm going to end up with nothing. So
3 races in, and Tin Tops don't get closer than this. 1 point separates Deegan, Reason and Hobson at the top of the table. Alistair Camp and Ben Sharp are still in with a shout as well as we head to the second race and the reverse grid coming up in part 2. I can't wait.